I didn't want to meet him on the beaches, but I've met him in the studio.
So the story of Subterfuge finds us in 1945 in London during the general election campaign, during the time when Winston Churchill was absolutely adamant that he's going to succeed.
He's undoubtedly assured of himself, as he always was, and there's no doubt in his mind that he's going to become prime minister again.
Yes, because the Meddling Monk is trying to turn 1945 election on its head.
Doctor Who has been sent back to, or has come back to protect history at all costs, and the Meddling Monk has turned up to not protect history at all costs.
The Doctor doesn't like it, so he comes and tries to battle it and put it right.
And it's full of, as you can imagine with the title suggesting, full of spies, crossing, double crossing, triple crossing.
The question being, I mean, who is more meddly? The Meddling Monk or the Doctor?
You know, I think he really does have a sense of duty to protect history at all costs, particularly this part of history.
Rufus Hound is playing the Meddling Monk. He's a character who my Doctor has met before, somewhere, sometime in the future or the past.
They are on the same page, but they're not. There is a bit of agreement between them, which I think is really interesting, is sort of those two sides, two opposing ideas having to sort of debate within each other. And Sylvester's been brilliant sort of working that against the monk.
And fascinating too, and played by Rufus Hound, who I think is a terrific actor. That's going to be very interesting, I think, as well.
But I've never been in any of the Doctor Who's over the years, and I think I've probably been quite a good baddie, you know. So it's lovely after all this time to be actually involved in Doctor Who in some way.
Alicia's a really fun character to play, and she's fun because she goes on this real journey where she's in a very male-dominated space, and at first she comes in and you think she could be quite subservient, but actually she holds her own really well as the piece goes on.
I mean, what's extraordinary about this story is that it's just as if it had been written this week, with the political machinations that are going on.
Because you think to yourself, is this what I'm watching on the news right now? Yeah, it kind of is.
Sometimes art ends up sort of emulating what's happening in your current political climate, because that's what's permeating your conversations, what you're talking about outside of work or whatever. And I think that it inspires us to want to talk about it, to question it.
It's actually very similar to what's going on now, which is a real sort of feather in the cap for this writer, I believe, which is good.
If you'd gone to a studio and said, this is how I think we should write the politics of today, they'd laugh and say, no, we don't want that. But this writer's written something that's so prescient for what's going on now.
It is brilliant that I think that Helen has managed to use what is going on in our current climate and just feed it into it without being a comment or without it sort of pressing any kind of political point across. It's just making us aware about what is going on in our time as well as their time, and it's still the same.
This is the first time that my Doctor has met Churchill.
It's a delight now we've moved on to me appearing with the actual doctors themselves, which is a joy.
There are certain themes that you automatically think of when you think Churchill, you know, Great Britain, going back to the greatness of Britain, all these things, all these themes.
Which is great to be interacting with a really one of the biggest historical characters of all time, and beautifully played by Mr. Ian McNeice.
I have never worked with Ian McNeice before, and it's been an absolute pleasure to work with him. He was sort of I suppose a bit of a hero. Like, I've seen him in so many films and TV series.
I've always thought about meeting Sylvester, and he's dare I say, a lovely kind of eccentric kind of character in himself. So it's been very nice to be working with him after kind of following him for many years.
Sylvester is just such a delight to work with. His Doctor is so different, I think, to the others.
He just has these moments of genius where, because you're being recorded, you don't want to laugh, but you really want to laugh.
If there's a historical character I'd like to meet, I wonder who it could be.
It might be very interesting to talk to Jung, I think, and Freud.
Let's see.
I think because Churchill was such a bon vivant, I think we should have him transported back to the times of Henry VIII, so we can have Churchill having a little set to with Henry VIII over a capon or two. I think that would be good.
Confucius.
Churchill can come back at any time, day or night, with any doctor, and that's fantastic. And I think we have in this a sort of scene or two where he discusses which doctor are. Oh yes, and so I think we're laying the grounds now for him to turn up with any doctor, which is fantastic news.